Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of Research Fantasy Presents our Major League Baseball tournament picks for Sunday, April 2nd, 2017. For those of you who don't know me, I am Nick Valinchak, also known as Nick from CWE on all of your favorite fantasy sites. I've been on YouTube now for about a month and a half doing NBA videos as I play basically all DFS sports. I decided that I would continue things for the baseball season. We'll be adding PGA, we'll be adding NASCAR, and when the CFL kicks off, we will dabble there as well. What I plan on doing is I plan on doing a video for pitchers, and I plan on doing a video for hitters, offering 3 of my favorite plays for each of those. I will do those on slates that probably have 5 or more games. We'll have to see how that goes. I might extend it to 6 or 7, might pull it back to 4. We'll just have to see. All I know is that for opening day, you should, you should probably just play like one lineup. I know the temptation can be there, especially if you're a big baseball fan, especially if it's your first season, to say, well, I want to play opening day because I know so much about baseball and I need to get out there and start figuring out what to do. Well, opening day is not going to be the slate to do it on. We've got 3 games. We've got 6 pretty good pitchers, to be completely honest with you. When we're sitting here and analyzing the pitchers on the slate and saying that, well, Zack Greinke looks like the worst one of them, we should target him. And we're saying it with that look on our face because we really don't buy into it. If this was a 10-game slate, if this game appeared Monday, we probably wouldn't be bearish with it. It would be something we maybe used as a contrarian stack, despite the fact that the game is at Chase Field, which is one of the better hitter parks. But we're stuck with this slate. It's not great. Full disclosure with what I'm telling you, I'm going to run one lineup on each site tomorrow just to have some action, just so that the games stay interesting to me as I watch. I don't know if these guys end up making it into my lineups. I'm pretty confident that they will. I wrote them up on researchfantasy.com as well. I believe in them. It just comes down to when I finally figure out what I want to do. No guarantee that this ends up being in my lineup. Now, what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to combine both videos because there's not 3 pitchers to talk about. I will still give 3 hitters because there's still a lot of hitters, a lot of positions we have to cover. So, the pitching position, this will be a little bit different. I'll talk to you a little more as opposed to just trying to rattle off my picks and move on. Madison Bumgarner on the road, Arizona. John Lester on the road, St. Louis. Chris Archer at home, New York. Masahiro Tanaka on the road, Tampa Bay. Carlos Martinez at home, Chicago. Zack Greinke home, San Francisco. Okay, not really feeling a lot of those pitchers. Arizona, just kind of going down the list. Arizona hit left-handers pretty well. Madison Bumgarner at points last year definitely wasn't like that top guy that we want to spend a ton of money on. Lester, very good pitcher, unquestionable. Biggest issue that is there is that St. Louis has a pretty good lineup. I think they've got some hitters that can cause him some problems. Chris Archer, oh man, tons of upside, tons of downside. Masahiro Tanaka is probably the guy if you're playing things safe. The Tampa Bay lineup isn't exactly filled with guys that are born to do a ton of damage. Carlos Martinez, don't really want to touch him despite the fact that he's on his home field against maybe the best or definitely the best lineup in baseball with the Cubs, and Zack Greinke at home in a hitter's park against an average San Francisco batting order. So upside, downside to basically everyone there. For me, I'm probably probably going to look toward Chris Archer. I'm going to tell you why. First, splits between home and road, and yes, he was 3-10 at home, but you could just look at the numbers. The numbers are much better at home. Half the home runs that he gave up on the road, 20-10. So you're not even seeing one a game at home. Young Yankee lineup, very young. I think that Archer can navigate it pretty well. On top of that, he's got, I think, the highest strikeout upside on the slate. Depending on what site you're on, he's either third or fourth priced pitcher. I'm comfortable with doing that. In fact, on DraftKings, I'm basically comfortable with just playing these two guys and kind of eliminating most of the hitting options from these teams. Neither team really looks that great. So I'll take, Bumgarner-esque upside for $2,000 left on DraftKings. That's what I have open. I apologize. I'm kind of doing this video quick because I just wrote 3 articles for 3 different sports. I'm hungry. I want to get this done well enough. But really is if you want to know what the prices are, I do have all of these guys in the video in my article, so they have all the prices there. So that is that for pitching. Hitting, like I said, you might find some luck. Chris Archer could have an off night and the Yankees could eat him alive. That's possible. You could see some of the left-handers here and Evan Longoria, because he's just a good baseball player, have some success against Tanaka, but I think he's built for run suppression. Not a big strikeout upside. So, more or less, let's look at 3 tiers for today. All right. My value play, I think you can really look at one of 2 different players, and I'm going to default to Jedd Gyorko. He's 3,400 in a bad matchup against Jon Lester. So why pick Jedd Gyorko? Well, first of all, from a tournament perspective, I don't think you're going to have a lot of people who want to jump on the St. Louis Cardinal bandwagon against Jon Lester. But one thing you'll find with pitchers and one thing you'll find with hitters in baseball is that great matchup, this is going to be an easy thing, and dude goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, or the pitcher lasts 3.5 innings and gets blasted for like 6 runs. I think there's enough guys on this Cardinals team that I think could, I'm not very high on this, but could give Lester some problems. Gyorko actually pretty darn good last year. I know that I was able to jump on the train a little bit early because I really trust the research that I do. And yes, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's always right. Nobody's research is always right. But Gyorko popped out early for me in some of the models I built. And he had a pretty decent run. I think he hit 24 home runs. He's mainly a platoon guy against left-handed hitters. So when you hear the word platoon and 24 home runs, you should kind of perk up at that because he's not seeing as many at-bats as an everyday player like an Anthony Rizzo is going to see. So there's definitely some upside there. If I'm going to spend down, I'm at least going to spend down on somebody that has power upside. The other option from the same team, I'll just mention it, would be Randall Grichuk, because I think he profiles to be able to hit Lester. If anybody on this team is going to hit Lester, it'd be and Aledmus Diaz as well. Anyway, moving on from there, my favorite kind of like mid-priced guy, and he's actually extremely cheap on FanDuel. I remember he's 2,400. I want to go shortstop Brandon Crawford, San Francisco Giants. Right now, even though lineups haven't been released, we're expecting them to hit in the 5-hole, with Span, Belt, Pence, Posey ahead of him. Those are all guys that are good hitters, could have some success against Greinke, getting on base, setting him up for some RBI opportunities. He's a solid hitter, not a great power hitter, but he's in a hitter's park. He did hit 12 home runs last year. He isn't going to be my bet for the guy who goes yard on opening day, but I don't think he's going to leave you hanging. I think I feel very comfortable in saying that if you're playing cash games, which I strongly do not suggest you do on a 3-game slate where there's 6 good major league pitchers on the mound, I don't advise playing cash games. That's not going to work out for very many people. But Crawford is definitely a safe option tonight, so I don't mind using him. Now for my favorite play of the slate, and I have a feeling he's going to be a lot of people's favorite plays. I think if you're really gutsy, you could go Paul Goldschmidt. He's hit lefties well through his career. I don't think he's hit Bumgarner particularly well for my BVP players. You could go Chris Bryant, but he just doesn't profile well against Carlos Martinez. But I'll stick in the same game. And the guy I am going to have for sure, no questions asked, no matter how my team gets built, is going to be Anthony Rizzo. Martinez, pretty solid against righties, pretty solid at suppressing power and hard hit rates against righties. But lefties is a different story. Rizzo's a guy who can make a ton of hard contact. There is some very serious long ball potential here. He's probably, I know he's the highest priced guy on DraftKings. Wouldn't surprise me if he's the highest priced guy on FanDuel. I do kind of feel bad about opening day, throwing the most expensive guy out there as my must-play tournament option. And really, if you were doing cash, that as well. But Rizzo just has special kind of upside in this matchup. I don't think that people are going to shy off of picking on Carlos Martinez. So you're also dealing with a high ownership potential here, but you're going to have days throughout the year, and especially when it's a short slate, where if Rizzo is going to have high ownership and you're committed to playing on this slate, it may not be smart to avoid him, because if you do and he goes off and it's a 3-game slate, you're done. If he has a home run and 5 RBIs by the 4th inning, and granted this is the late game, so it could play spoiler for you, but whatever. If that happens and you don't have him and 40% of the field does, and it's a realistic possibility because there's 3 games on the slate, it's over. I mean, granted, if it doesn't and he goes 0 for 4, you win, but I'm not putting my chips on anybody but Anthony Rizzo tonight. So Chris Archer, highly likely to be my pitcher. Number 2 would be Tanaka if I have to roster 2. Value play, Jedd Gyorko or Randall Grichuk. Mid-range play, Brandon Crawford. Top dollar play, Anthony Rizzo. Thanks for listening. Tomorrow's videos will be much better. I may even be out of this element. I'm working really hard. If the weather's poor in Ohio tomorrow, I will definitely be able to get into my office. And thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow with better content because it's a much bigger, much more fun slate. In the meantime, please subscribe to our videos below. Head over to researchfantasy.com, sign up for our MLB mailing list, and I will email you every time we release an article pertaining to Major League Baseball. And I promise you that it will most likely be 5 days a week, but it will be no more than 1 time per day. I'm not going to flood your email. Head over to Facebook, like us there, follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.